Well, that's right. Affirmative action has been blocked both for private and public colleges. This is in the UNC case and in the Harvard case.
It's a great day, folks. Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. We got a lot to get into, from affirmative action to the libs going insane and full racist about this ruling on affirmative action. We got more updates on Joe Biden, as well as plenty more content for you. Before we jump into any of it, support a true American patriot by hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave us a short, sweet comment down below. The question for all of you is, are you happy to see affirmative action gone? Let us know in the comment section below. And also head over to any of the links in the description below and pick yourself up a copy of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. We do talk about affirmative action in this book. We got a lot of topics, from Antifa to the indoctrination that's happening in the school system. Everything you need to know about how the left is destroying America. Pick yourself up a copy down below. And also head over to baldbrad.com. Get yourself some merchandise. Get yourself a nice American mug. It says the Bald Brad Show on it, folks. It's beautiful with the American flag on the back. Some of you are getting these. You're picking them up like they're hotcakes, folks. A lot of us in the live chat are drinking out of this mug. Get yourself one today. And lastly, most bigly, if you look down below, somewhere around here, you're going to see what's called Join. Become a member today, folks. Become an American patriot. We would love to have you join our community. A lot of people in the live chat, a lot of people in the comment section below. Always join us. We got regulars. We would love for you to become a regular with us. Join us today. Become an American patriot. With that being said, huge win for us, folks. Huge win. Awesome win. It's amazing here. Supreme Court issues landmark ruling on affirmative action at universities. If you've been a longtime listener or viewer of the Bald Brad Show, you know that I was firmly, bigly against affirmative action. I thought it was racist. And by the way, just I think last week, or maybe even this week, I said if you were to build an argument around systemic racism, the best argument you could build would be for affirmative action. Because affirmative action inherently is a system that was put in place that is racist, that judges you primarily on your race. It is wild. This is a great ruling. The Supreme Court ruled against Harvard University and the University of North Carolina's affirmative action policies in a decision that will have a profound effect on the admissions processes at universities across the country. We'll also have Harvard's response to all this in just one moment. The court ruled that the race-based admissions programs at Harvard violated Title VI, I believe, of the Civil Rights Act, and the University of North Carolina violated the Equal Protections Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court voted 6-3 in the University of North Carolina case and 6-2 in the Harvard case. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, a Harvard graduate and former Harvard board member, recused herself from the Harvard case. Justices John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett voted with the majority in both cases because they have their head on straight. They understand this stuff was racist. Quote, eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in the opinion for the majority. Correct. Quote, nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise. But despite the dissent's assertion to the contrary, universities may not simply establish through application essays or other means that regime we hold unlawful today, the court's opinion stated. Justice Jackson and Sotomayor wrote dissents. Sotomayor accused the majority of further entrenching racial inequalities in education. What an insane and racist statement. You're going to see the video clips that we're going to play in a moment. The left are going insane. The left are pushing this racist idea that blacks can't compete with Asians and whites. What? What? That is so racist. I think blacks can compete with any other race. I don't think your race has anything to do with anything. But as you're going to see in today's episode, from clip after clip after clip, you're going to see that these lefties are fully involved in race in every matter of life. It's head spinning, it's head blowing. Let's continue. Quote, today, this court stands in the way and rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress, Sotomayor wrote. adding that the court cements a superficial rule of colorblindness as a constitutional principle in a endemically segregated society where race has always mattered and continues to matter. This is critical race theory coming from critical law studies, which we talk about in our book, Trojan Horse, How the Left Destroyed America. We talk about this at length, folks. It's wild. Can we just go back for a second? Because this is the same thinking Karine Jean-Pierre has, as well as a lot of the Democrat Party and progressive left. It says here again, today this court stands in the way and rolls back decades of precedent and momentous progress. Folks, there's a lot of things that the Democrats think should stay within law that shouldn't stay within law, and this was one of them. So their thinking is, well, because it's been there for a long time, this is mostly coming from Karine Jean-Pierre, that we should just keep it. There was a lot of things in the Supreme Court that shouldn't have been ruled upon and made into law that were terrible and should have been rolled over, should have been removed, like we're seeing with affirmative action here. So their idea, again, is, oh, well, it's been there for a long time, so we might as well just keep it because it's been there for a long time. It has precedence. Oh, okay. It's head spinning. And then you got to love the whole idea here that race has always mattered and continues to matter. Oh, what? What? That's coming from the Democrats and progressive left, folks. That's not Republicans and conservatives saying that. We're saying we don't think race should be involved in anything. We think your qualities and your character should be involved in it. God, who said that? Who said you should be judged based on your character? I don't know, Martin Luther King? Wow. That went away real quick, according to the Democrats and progressive left. Have you noticed the Democrats have always been about race? Literally since their inception with the Ku Klux Klan and slavery, they've been always about race since the Civil War. Just wild. The ruling resolves a pair of cases from students against Harvard and the University of North Carolina. A group called Students for Fair Admissions sued the elite schools, accusing them of unfairly factoring race into the admissions processes. The group pointed to the high test scores of Asian American and white applicants who were rejected. So basically, what was happening was, and this goes back for a long time, is that Asians were having to score higher than, say, black applicants, but the black applicants will actually get in before the Asian applicants because they have diversity quotas. And what you'll hear in our later clips is MSNBC saying, well, affirmative action has nothing to do with diversity quotas. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And that's the whole point of instituting affirmative action, because the left believes that black people can't compete with Asians and whites. And by the way, there's even others like Indian Americans that will outcompete white people as well. So this whole thing based on race is inherently racist because it's based on race, and you're implementing or putting forth a person in the application process ahead of others based on their race. Wild. Not based on their qualities, not based on their qualifications, not based on the characteristics of which they had throughout their life, of what they overcame and the obstacles that they overcame. It's just based on the color of your skin. It's racist. It is racist. I don't care what anybody says. Affirmative action is racist. Conservatives, Republicans, we don't want anything to do with your race. We want you to begin based on merit and your qualifications and your characteristics. Students for Fair Admissions argued that Harvard violated Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits racial discrimination by schools that receive federal funding. In other cases, the group accused the University of North Carolina, of violating the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause by considering race in its admission process. Quote, racial classifications are wrong, the students group attorney said, Patrick Strawbridge said in his opening argument back in October. This court has always said that racial classifications are invidious. Correct. The plaintiffs have asked the Supreme Court to overrule a 2003 case, Grutter v. Bollinger, in which the court ruled that the University of Michigan law may consider race in its admission process. At the time Grutter was decided, Justice Sandra Day O'Connor said, we expect that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary. The reason why I'm going back for you is because when we play these MSNBC clips, you're going to hear these, I don't know if they're guest hosts or what they are, or just guests for that matter. They're actually going to talk about slightly what we're bringing up here with Grutter and the 25 years from now. In the court's opinion Thursday, Justice Roberts noted that 2 decades have passed since the Grutter decision. Quote, 20 years have passed since Grutter, and no end to race-based college admissions in sight, but the court has permitted race-based college admissions only within the confines of narrow restrictions such as admission programs, must comply with strict scrutiny, may never use race as a stereotype or negative, and must at some point end. Both Harvard and the University of North Carolina's admission systems, however, well-intentioned and implemented in good faith, fail each of these criteria. Oh, big time. Big time. If you want a great book, check out, it's called Delusion something. Delusions in Academic or Academia or something. It's written by Heather McDonald. Fabulous book. She has 2 great books that I highly recommend. It's War on Cops, and then it's Delusions and Disparities, maybe. Check it out. It's Delusions something. Phenomenal book. Covers affirmative action. There's a whole chapter on it, and she shatters it. So you have Harvard reacting to this whole thing. Harvard responded to the Supreme Court ruling that the university's admission systems was unconstitutional on Thursday, announcing in a statement that it will certainly comply with the decision. Well, that's not what we're hearing. We're hearing that Harvard's going to be doing kind of some loophole stuff and kind of do a roundabout thing in terms of finding avenues that they can utilize to still push people into the system based inherently on their race. So we'll see we'll have to see what comes of it. But we're still waiting for other people to come out, like North Carolina, University of that. But here's the clips. We got to get to the clips. Here's MSNBC. We have multiple clips. MSNBC going full racist on this stuff. It's as if somebody passed away the way they're treating this. We got about 2 or 3 clips here. Let's go ahead and roll it.
At this point.
Well, that's right. Affirmative action has been blocked both for private and public colleges. This is in the UNC case and in the Harvard case. We thought there may be a split where they might say that it's unconstitutional for public universities taking public money, but perhaps not for private. But they've said in both cases, college admissions cannot consider race as they try to diversify their student bodies. Now, this is overturning a 2003 opinion by then Justice Sotomayor, who said at that time, we hope in 25 years we won't have to look at race as a consideration in college, but that's just not the makeup of our country right now. Well, it's been 20 years, and these justices have said that the court, according to this opinion today, that they think that race should no longer be a consideration as colleges try to diversify. Going back to oral arguments, we heard then from Chief Justice Roberts saying, look, he basically saw it as being more racist in violation of Title 14 to look at race in considering who should be admitted to college. Harvard tried to argue this is just like trying to get an oboe player on our orchestra. We would look out for oboe players just like we would look at race and trying to diversify our student body. At the time, Chief Justice Roberts said no, because we didn't have a civil war over oboe players and we did over race. This will, of course, have historic impacts going forward as colleges try to diversify their student bodies, looking at other things like geographical factors, poverty, any adversity that students have overcome, but they can no longer look at race. It's something that's already happening in 8 states across the country. For example, in the public education system, the public system in California, they cannot look at race there. A lot of colleges have said it's been increasingly hard to keep their student bodies racially diverse. Hard to underestimate how big of a decision this is coming from the Supreme Court today. It may not be surprising given the composition of the court, but it will have long and lasting impacts on how colleges around the country diversify their student bodies without looking at race as a factor.
They don't know what to do, you guys. It has to be about race. We got more clips here. So kind of the idea is, that's coming from the left, is that it must be about race. And if you don't make it about race, then there's going to be fewer black students. That's not coming from me. That's coming from a former prosecutor here on MSNBC. You guys, it is literally racist to say that black people can't compete and can't get in based on their qualifications. You work hard. Your personal successes is what should inherently get you into whatever industry you're trying to get into, not your race. You want to see a diversity hire based on affirmative action? Look at Karine Jean-Pierre. She sucks at her job. Now, there could be applicants within that affirmative action, within that diversity hire, that actually are good at their job. I'm not saying that just because you're a diversity hire or you're implemented through affirmative action that you are not qualified for that position or that you're just inherently going to suck at that position. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is racist to have affirmative action and diversity hires based on whatever. It could either be sexist, ageist, it could be racist, which is what we're seeing here, but not according to them. Just listen to this. It is so head spinning.
Though, just on the top line, which is affirmative action no longer constitutional, according to the Supreme Court justices.
Anna, we've been headed to this space for a very long time, and unfortunately, there is a tie-in between the public discourse right now around diversity and everything that we are discussing, the misunderstanding of how race is actually used and discussed, and then a very disingenuous conversation about race in America, all of which has contributed to us being where we are. I share Eddie's feelings about knowing this was coming, but also being emotional about it now that we are actually hearing those words. And to Julia's point, what she was just talking about, we have already seen in California, for example, what it does to a student body to remove race from a factor of admissions. It has not worked out well. We have seen fewer and fewer black students in the UC systems because of the removal of race as a factor in terms of being able to identify qualified applicants who can be there.
Dude is straight up saying that black people can't compete against other races. I don't believe that. By any means, I think everybody can compete against everybody. You guys, there's been no study done. The amount of melanin in your skin to convert to like cognitive abilities. Race has nothing, the color of your skin has nothing to do with anything. It's so head spinning that we're in 2023 and we're having to explain this. And you have the left losing their minds over the Supreme Court decision saying, oh, well, black people can't compete against other races. You're going to have a lower student enrollment based on race, and you're not going to be able to meet diversity and have your student campus be diversified. How about diversified based on your, I don't know, how your brain functions and the amount of intelligence that you have, as well as your qualifications, your overcoming of your successes and the obstacles that were in your life? How about that? Your characteristics and your quality. Race as you being black, Asian, white, Indian, that nothing. Has nothing to do with anything. You getting in, whatever qualifications that university has set, you getting in and meeting those qualifications is what matters, not your race. I know I'm repeating myself, but I can't believe that we're in 2023 and we're having this conversation.
Explain that, because I think a lot of people think you're either qualified or you're not. Why does race even matter? I think that's what the justices are saying here, right?
Race does matter because in many respects, there are a number of myriad different considerations that come into play when you're talking about the experience of an applicant who is black, who comes from certain areas, who had certain advantages or was void of certain advantages, going into a college application process.
You could say that about any race, dude. You act like white people aren't in poverty. You act like white people don't have to overcome anything, or Asian people or Indian people. It's so crazy to me that they are pushing this, folks. God, could somebody please let me know I'm not crazy? Chat in the comment section, dude. You have Martin Luther King preaching I have a dream, and all these things that I agree with, by the way. And then you have a black person on MSNBC saying it's all about race. Martin Luther King saying, no, we want it based on nothing to do with your race, everything to do with your merit and the characteristics and the qualities. And you have this guy saying it's all about race.
Versus someone who did not come from that background and did not have these advantages. And it is not, from what people have still, even from 1978 with Bakke, people still misunderstand affirmative action. It has nothing to do with quotas. It has nothing to do with numbers in the sense of hard, fast, and rigid measures. And I have to go back to Dahlia's a piece that Dahlia wrote earlier, where one of the fatal flaws of how we got here is a decision that came, I believe it was Fisher, where they said basically, in 25 years, they put a sell-by date, essentially. And those are Dahlia's words. I want to give her full credit, right, for writing that and basically saying, hey, well, perhaps we can revisit here. As soon as that decision came out, that date began to be marked on the calendar, and people said, well, we can get here at this point.
Folks, we're not done yet. We're not done. We're not done at all. So there was this clip that I came across actually yesterday before the ruling was even out. And it comes from Brandon Tatum. And we've actually been on Instagram Live with Brandon Tatum talking about biblical scriptures and stuff. Well, he's in this liberal panel and they're discussing what's biggest issue facing the black community. And they discuss other issues throughout this clip. I want to show the clip in its entirety because you're going to see the mindset of some of these people where race is enveloped into every aspect of their thinking in life. And this lady here, which you will see later towards the end of this clip, is that she wasn't granted a loan. And so without any evidence, she says that she wasn't granted a loan because of her race, because she's black, without any evidence. So that's the issue that you're having here, is that you're having people growing up in a milieu, in a social environment, that think because they're not granted something, is that it must inherently be race or predicated on race or some sort of racism out there in the ether. And this is why I call it a nameless, faceless, shadowy figure, is because they can never name or give evidence to in which who the racist is or what organizations or what systems are actually racist. Whereas I said, if you're going to build, again, an argument for systemic racism, I can point to something that's actually systemically racist, which would be affirmative action. Thank God it's done away with, but let's watch this clip in its entirety. I'll try not to interrupt as much as possible. We're here for commentary. We're here to hang out with each other as a community, so there will be some pausing here. If you want to see the full clip, head over to Brandon Tatum's website. Let's roll it.
A number of things systematically that are set up so that we as Black people have a harder time succeeding economically, and it's embedded and bred into our culture. And so when we talk about fatherlessness, that's a byproduct of a number of different issues. But if we had the economic power that many of our counterparts enjoy in this country, some of the issues that we face, we wouldn't have those.
Officer Tatum, you want to weigh in on this topic?
Yeah, I think that a lot of our issue comes from right here in the mind. And I would say that leads from the lack of education. The
Correct.
reason we vote the way we do is from a lack of education. The reason that we think, and no disrespect to the young lady, that we think that somehow our issues are external is a lack of education and knowledge. I honestly believe that we are the arbiters of our success. If
Correct.
we have problems in the inner city communities, we have to look in the mirror first. We have to look in the mirror first. Because on this panel, I highly doubt that anybody on this panel is affected by systemic issues and the systematic oppression.
That's not true.
I said I highly doubt that none of us are affected. I'm a successful Black man. I got an education. I own my own business. I employ Black people in my business, and I pay them very well. Why? Because they're qualified.
Correct.
They do what it takes. They come, they interview, and I give them opportunities, and that beget other opportunities. So I honestly think that the person in the mirror is the biggest, problem or success factor in the Black community.
Sum up. What he's talking about is personal responsibility. The Democrats and the progressive left don't have this. If you want to destroy anybody in pretty much any argument in terms of affirmative action or anything about race, just personal responsibility, you're going to see that's going to be a main theme here. He doesn't use the words personal responsibility, but it's 100% there. Why? Because the person that you're looking at in the mirror is responsible for their actions, is responsible for their own education. They're responsible for everything in their life, not some outside influence or force. Those could affect you 100%, but it's up to you to have the responsibility of not hanging out with the wrong people, going out there and hanging out with the right people, reading the correct books, going out there and trying to expand your viewpoint and your horizon and your mythos and the whole ideology that you surround yourself in. Tatum is 100% correct in everything that he says throughout this episode.
The other day, I was
So for those that are listening, it
I
says, is institutional racism holding Black people back? So this is the next segment that we're going to go into here.
The other day, I was reflecting on my grandmother, and I was raised by my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. Both my parents were incarcerated on a federal level when I was approximately 5 years old. And I thought about something. My grandmother told me one day, she said, "Do you know that you are the first generation that was born free in this country?"
Come on.
I said, "What do you mean by that?" She said, "You were born in late 1970s. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, when I was born one generation from a descendant of a slave. When your mother was born, she was born in Jim Crow. And so I was the first generation that was born fully free in this country." Why am I bringing that up? I'm glad that you asked that question. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because we are not too far removed from the institutional racism as it relates to signs, as it relates to legislation, et cetera, that keeps people like you, like me, like her, and like you, successful brother.
Isn't that just confirming with our viewpoint that there is no systemic racism out there, of which he just said that they were removed from the systemic racism that was of the past, which we all agree was a thing? We all agree that there was systemic racism. Again, was. Like, past tense, was. Not today. There's a whole panel of here of successful Black people, which is an amazing thing. They're both females and males. All Black, all extremely successful, which is an amazing thing. But here, there's going to be a spin, and you'll hear it. Let's roll it.
Can I jump in on this real quick?
Brandon, before you do.
And let me say this, even though you were the first generation, look at how much you've been able to accomplish. How much barriers do you have if you've been able to accomplish so much and you're only the first generation?
Well, let me tell you about my barriers.
So that-
as a felon, as a person with a felony conviction.
Let me just.
As a person with a felony conviction?
I can tell you about my barriers. There are more than 46,000 collateral consequences to one felony conviction in the United States of America.
What did you do? What did you do to go to jail?
I was involved in criminal enterprising.
There you go. So, let me just say this. The reason that I say that is because it's the same person in the mirror. The justice system, the white man, systemic racism, none of that had anything to do with the reason why you went to prison.
Nah, I didn't get prosecuted by a white man. I got prosecuted by a black prosecutor. I got prosecuted by a black. I got sentenced by a black judge. This wasn't about white. This wasn't about black.
Hang on one second.
The system in and of itself, I'm telling you, the reason why you went there and I didn't is because decisions that you made and I didn't make those decisions.
Personal responsibility. And by the way, just to throw this out there, because a lot of times the argument coming from the left is that black people are oppressed, so they can't be successful in terms of wealth. It only takes one generation, statistically, to fork your family tree, which, by the way, the gentleman to the left here is confirming that idea of, hey, look how successful I am when I'm just one generation removed of what he was just talking about, where he's the first generation to be quote unquote free, which I don't agree with, but he's the first generation to be free, according to him. So one, that's been confirmed. Two, they did a study based on 10,000 millionaires. It's the second greatest study that's ever been conducted on millionaires. The number one quality that they all shared I think it was 95 to 97% believe this in terms of the survey. On 10,000 millionaires, by the way, the number one quality and characteristic that they all shared was they had personal responsibility. Number one. So that's one characteristic that you can achieve yourself if you want to become a millionaire. Not saying if you just have that one, you have to have many. But that can help you take personal responsibility for your actions to be successful, which is what Brandon Tatum's talking about here. But it seems like that panel doesn't really agree with what Brandon Tatum's talking about, as well as us here on the Bald Brad Show.
And the reason why you're successful now are the positive decisions that you made learning from the experience. Those are decisions that you're making are the arbiters of your success. It has nothing to do with these external factors. You were able to get out of prison, have the experience, and now you're able to free other people. In America, you can do that. In other places, I can't attest to that. But America forced that opportunity. There's no systems that have stopped you, have it? I think that is damaging now.
Here we go. Effects of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion on our youth. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're kind of seeing that in forms with affirmative action. Again, that was the headline for the main show. Affirmative action is done away with. Thank God. Literally,
having diversity, inclusion, and all that stuff. What it does is it separates us.
What?
It really does. It separates us because
you don't want people to know about our culture.
I am an entrepreneur. I hire people for a living. I do not discriminate against individuals who come to my workforce. If I have qualified black people, I'm going to hire qualified black people.
There you go.
What we should be focusing on is having them qualified instead of just giving them a handout because we need to reach numbers. We need young.
Preach it, brother.
This is the problem that's happening. I'm gonna shut up. I promise. The problem that's happening is that we're not focused on making sure these young people are successful coming out of school. They're prepared to go to work. They're prepared to interview. We're not prepping them there. We want to go on the back end and say, well, I have 10 white people. I need 3 more black people. I'm just gonna hire them because we need to meet a quota. That's not the way to do it because they come, they're unprepared, and they're not gonna be successful. What we need to do is help.
100% backed up, again, by Heather McDonald, based on studies that's been conducted at Harvard and other Ivy Leagues, where based on this affirmative action, when they implement based inherently on race, you actually end up harming the person that was put in place based on affirmative action. For example, like say you had an Asian person that had a high SAT or ACT score. They had high grades in high school versus a black person that had maybe a little bit of a lower grade, didn't do as well in the SAT or ACT, but was put into the Ivy League into, say, engineering when they didn't meet the qualifications in the first place, but the Asian person did. What you tend to see based on these studies is that the black person actually will have to switch majors and will remove themselves from these STEM fields because they weren't scoring high, or they'll have to drop out of that institution. And by the way, if you're having, say, student loans, you are still going to have to pay for those student loans. And so because you were going into engineering, of which you should have never been put in the first place because it's difficult, based on just your grades and maybe the amount of, I guess, wisdom that you would have had on mathematics, physics, and others, which you'd have to take in college for engineering, is that now your grades are suffering. You thought that you would come out of college with an engineering degree and get paid six figures, so you're willing to pay them more money, or in other words, take out a greater loan. But now that you're not in engineering and now you maybe have to go into communications or a major that's not going to pay as well as engineering, now you're still going to have to suffer massive amount of student debt because of affirmative action, because you're in based on your race and not your qualifications, which is what Brandon Tatum's talking about here.
Them on the back end, make sure they're successful and prepared, send them out in the workforce where they are competitive, and therefore they can compete just like everybody else.
I was raised by a single parent.
Okay, this one is, does systemic racism affect Black success?
And I feel that I'm considered one of the people that is successful when we talk about, what success looks like within the Black community. But even still, how
about Barack Obama was Black? He was literally the president of the United States. Attorney General Eric Holder was Black, Attorney General of the United States. Kamala Harris, a vice president. You have senators. I mean, what they act like success is out of reach and there's some sort of oppression. Again, a nameless, faceless, shadowy figure holding them down. But it's like there's Black people at all levels: actors, executives, CEOs, CFOs, CEOs, CPOs. Like, what? I don't understand this whole myth that they are creating for themselves and why they have to push it so hard. When I agree that racism is out there. There are racists. It's evil. It's ugly. I don't agree with it. If you're a racist that watches this show, don't watch this show. We don't want you here. I don't like racism. I don't like it. It's evil. It's disgusting. I do not agree with it. I can't be any more clear than that. But this whole idea that you're building an environment for our youth to think that there's some nameless, faceless, shadowy figure that holding them down, they're not going to want to succeed in the first place. They're not even willing to try. And I've seen it in my classroom. I've seen it out there, just even student teaching when I was trying to become a teacher. I've seen it there where they're not willing to try because they say, what's the point when I'm just going to be held back based on my race? It's a disgusting ideology to have.
Being raised,
Terrible.
In a single family, being educated, having a successful job, a successful career, I still understand that there are systematic things in this country that are against me. And
What?
I don't care how
systems?
people look
Name
at that.
one.
I look in the banking. I talked about that earlier. The ability to
No, for you.
For me, I'm saying banking, yes, specifically. So just to give you a real life example, in 2020 during the pandemic, I went to my bank. I have good credit. I've paid back my student loans. I, don't have any outstanding debt to income ratio, and I could not get $60,000. And I asked my bank, why was I denied a person who has A1 credit, don't have any student loans, I have, 2 or 3 properties. Why am I being denied a $60,000 personal loan? And you know what?
They said because you're Black?
They didn't give me an answer.
But how do you know it's because you're Black?
She's going to assume that she wasn't given a loan because she was Black? They didn't give you an answer, so you have no evidence, and you're just going to point towards racism? This is what they do. This is what the left does, you guys. No evidence, but there's racism out there.
What I'm saying is,
wait
wait a minute. There are
how
no
do you know
indicators.
it's because of the color of your skin?
What I'm saying is, there are no indicators for why I should have been denied. That's what I'm saying.
Do you know that any white people have been denied with the same qualification?
I don't know because I didn't go out and poll white people.
I don't know anything, but it must be racism.
This isn't a conversation about white people. This is a conversation about me.
No, but there's no way.
You're acknowledging a hindrance. You're acknowledging a hindrance to
Yes, I'm acknowledging a hindrance in what you're considering to be a successful person, doing what they're supposed to do, going out and working, having good credit, paying their bills on time, and still being denied with no reason given.
As a Black person.
As a
you're
Black
saying
person.
that happened to you
I'm
because
saying that
you were
happened
Black.
to me. What I'm saying is, yes, I'm saying it happened.
Okay.
And I happen to be Black, yes.
Alea, I want to talk about
But
immigration.
wait a minute, I'd like Brandon to respond to that. I see you sat back, you're frustrated.
Listen,
I'd like you to respond.
I will.
Yeah.
You got
Listen,
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All I want to say is that I can fight with you if we have evidence. If you went to the bank and you have evidence that they've been giving loans to people with equal qualification as you have, and because you being Black, they denied you, let's go to the bank and let's show up. Let's pull up. Okay. But the thing is that it's not fair to make that determination without unequivocal facts, because what it does is it generates this idea that it's because you're black. There may be something or that you could have changed on you when you made the application or not that could have caused you to get the loan. There are some educational points there that could have been effective, but you can't just say it's your race, because then you're telling the next young person and the next young black person, and before you know it, they don't even give it a try when you're saying something that's not verified.
No, I'm not saying. I'm gonna let you get your applause.
So that's pretty much the extent of the clip I wanted to show you. But you see the mindset there is, well, because I'm black or because of the race or the color of my skin, I'm not being given certain opportunities. I'm sure there's a racist out there that's not giving black people opportunities. You're damaging yourself in a free market capitalistic society by doing that. And also, if that person was exposed for their racism, then I'm sure as hell going to believe that not a lot of people are going to go to that business. I won't buy from that person. I'm not going to go to a racist store. I will find a similar product that I could buy from somebody that's not racist. That's a free market capitalist society that allows people to sit there and do things based on their own personal preference. I don't think race is a massive issue here in the United States. In other countries, oh boy, is it. But again, we're so enveloped in our own society here that we can't expand our horizon and actually see what the hell goes on around the world. Furthermore, it's insane to say, well, there's racism out there without any evidence of racism. I wasn't given a loan based on my race. I'd also like to point out, and something Brandon Tatum didn't bring up here, when were you trying to get a loan in 2020? Does everybody know? I think everybody knows what happened in 2020, right? March 13th, March 12th, roughly, of 2020. What was shut down? Oh, the entire globe, roughly. Everybody's told, 15 days to slow the spread. Everybody go home. Don't go into the office. Don't go into work. So depending on when you went in to go get that loan, it wouldn't surprise me if banks were a little bit spooked. I mean, the entire economy, the entire globe was a little spooked and trying to figure out what the hell was going on. So you're trying to reach a loan at that time. I don't know. So there's a lot of mechanisms that could have been put in place there regarding that loan of which you didn't get. So let me know. Again, the question of the day is, do you think affirmative action was racist? Are you glad to see it gone? Let us know in the comment section below. Well, moving into our next story of the day, the president is compromised, folks. Comer says Biden family brokered over $40 million worth of foreign deals. It just keeps getting worse and worse for the Biden family corruption scandal. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. So James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, said Wednesday that foreign payments, in part brokered by the Biden family, could top $40 million. If you recall, I said when we were covering the Biden family corruption, when you had Joe and Hunter both getting $5 million each, I said, I think it's going to be way more. Folks, I think it's more than $40 million, by the way. Joe Biden's been in government his entire life. I think it's more than $40 million. So I thought it was more than the $5 or $10 million that was given to Joe and Hunter. I think it's more than 40. I think it's going to go up way higher the more that's unraveled here. So Comer spoke of his investigation into the Biden family and its overseas business dealings during an appearance on the Katz and Cosby show on WABC 770 in New York. Comer said the evidence he has reviewed so far suggests the Biden family's behavior was much more sinister than just inappropriate business dealings by Hunter Biden and his uncle, James Biden. It's a puzzle. This was organized crime. There's no way to define it. This was organized crime, Comer said. This was something that's going to the top out. I would say around 30 to 40 different banks and about that many shell companies. We covered how people were saying that are involved in this whole thing that it's such a spider web that it's going to take decades to unravel because they're moving things from shell company to shell company, from this account to this account to this account. So you have a spider web. It can be done. It's going to take some serious accounting to kind of follow the money in all these different places because it is organized crime, and they're using that word organized for a reason. There's some money laundering possibly taking place. We have to use the word allegedly just for legal reasons. It's all alleged. You're innocent until proven guilty. They're innocent as of now, folks, but who knows? Maybe they just might be guilty. We'll see. Comer said that congressional investigators have identified at least 6 suspicious policy decisions that seem to have influenced or been influenced by corruption rather than identifiable and legitimate U.S. interests. We have 6 specific policy decisions, 4 of which were made while Joe Biden was president early on, that we can't come to any other conclusion as to why these decisions were made other than the president is compromised. That's a big statement. Holy lordy. There's no other logical conclusion that anybody could come up with other than the dude's compromised. Compromised by who? The Chinese? The Ukrainians, the Russians. He's not doing much against China, folks. China unleashed a virus on the globe. There's been nothing done. He won't even shoot their balloon out of the sky until they got all their surveillance on us. He's in the pocket of the Chinese. How could you not? How could you say he's not? Honestly, come on. Be honest with yourselves. Not the Bald Brad Show viewers, but a Democrat or independents listening to this. Be honest with yourself. Really? You think Joe Biden's legit? You have such a hard-on for Trump that you're telling me that you can't take that same hard-on and apply it to Joe Biden? Quote, we're talking about some real money here, and I'm not counting. With the first transaction, we disclosed $3 million to the Chinese Communist Party, to the Robinson Walker LLC account. From that, the Bidens got $1.3 million. I'm not counting $3 million. I'm counting $1.3 million. So you know the transaction could exceed $40 million plus. He's not even taking the full amount that we're taking here on the Bald Brad Show. Like I said, I'm reading this in real time. I have not read this article. You're getting a full-time reaction. Many of the Bald Brad Show knowers view this. I said I think it's going to be greater than $40 million. The transactions could exceed $40 million plus. Oh my God. The Kentucky Republican said that he had much more to share about the Biden family transactions, including numerous other countries where the Bidens have a footprint. Romania, which we talked about, China, those are the two countries we've already discussed, and Ukraine, which we discussed as well here on the Bald Brad Show. There's also supposedly countries in Africa where Hunter Biden was actively involved in influence peddling, where Joe Biden was involved in foreign policy decisions, which is why you had Shokin during the whole Burisma thing, looking into Burisma because of the U.S. policy decision-making that was being done by Joe Biden, who was vice president at the time. He was also looking into why is Hunter Biden, and Archer, his business partner, on the board of Burisma Holdings, a natural gas company, when they know nothing about natural gas. But God, what happened there? What happened there, folks? Oh, Joe Biden got the guy fired. And by guy, I mean the prosecutor Shokin. And we had the tapes. We listened to the leaked tapes here of Joe Biden saying it, that you're not going to get the $1 billion loan unless you fire that guy. And then you had the president at the time going, oh, well, he's done nothing wrong, but we fired him for you, so give us the money. Well, Republicans raised alarm about Biden family after a Treasury visit. It just gets worse, you guys. It gets worse. We got two more articles on the Biden family corruption because it is going deep. So more of President Joe Biden's family members are drawing the interest of Republican investigators on Capitol Hill who say they are dead set on rooting out any corruption surrounding the White House. James Comer, once again, and other GOP members announced on Monday that they paid a visit to the Treasury Department following a breakthrough agreement allowing access to suspicious activity reports, known as SARS. We've talked about that here on the Bald Brad Show. You guys, you will probably go your entire lifetime, and anybody involved with you, their entire lifetimes, without ever having a suspicious activity report. Biden, I think, don't quote me on this number, somebody have to look it up, I'm pulling it off the top of my head. I want to say that there was like 120 of these suspicious activity reports. So what are these reports? Let's just break that down. These are financial institutions that can use and flag possible criminal behavior. That's what it's for. Like I said, your family members, and everybody that's involved around you, you will probably never see this in your entire life. So if you recall, this goes back quite some time here with these suspicious activity reports. There's a lot here, folks, a lot of detail. So again, a financial institution, I just want to break this down, is required to file a suspicious activity report no later than 30 calendar days after the date of initial detection of facts that may constitute a basis for filing a suspicious activity report. If no suspect was identified on the date of detection of the incident requiring the filing, a financial institution may delay filing a suspicious activity report for an additional 30 calendar days to identify a suspect. In no case shall reporting be delayed more than 60 calendar days after the date of initial detection of a reputable transaction. Under the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, a financial institution or financial institutions are required to assist U.S. government agencies in detecting and preventing money laundering. Did you hear that? Are you connecting the dots with me? Am I the only one here? Let me know in the live chat, please. For the love of God, let me know in the live chat if you're connecting the dots with me. So Biden has had a lot of these suspicious activity reports, a lot. These don't just come out of the ether, you guys. They have to have evidence of this. Not just evidence, but also a suspect of money laundering. You will never see one in your lifetime. Joe Biden's seen a damn lot of these in his lifetime. So you keep records of cash purchases of negotiable instruments, file reports of cash transactions exceeding $10,000 daily aggregate amount, report suspicious activity that might signal criminal activity, money laundering, tax evasion. Oh, no. Speaking of taxes, who was just let off about taxes, guy? Oh, it's Hunter Biden. Oh, okay. So the same guy that was being investigated under Shokin for possibly money laundering is now also pleaded guilty for taxes. And he was just let go. That sweetheart deal that we all talked about. Oh, interesting. Well, check this out. Thousands of pages of financial records relating to the Biden family, their companies, and their associate business schemes were made available to members of the House Oversight Committee and Accountability, which confirmed the importance of this investigation. Quote, the Biden family enterprise is centered on Joe Biden's political career and connections, and it has generated an exorbitant amount of money for the Biden family. We've identified 6 additional members of Joe Biden's family who may have benefited from the Biden family's business that we are investigating, bringing the total number of those involved benefiting to 9. It's a spider web. This is crazy, but we're getting to at least a little bit. We're just scratching the surface of the iceberg, folks. We haven't even gone below water yet where it's all at. You gotta love that the left are going, you had Ivanka Trump receive money from the Russians. Yeah, she has a fashion business, you knucklehead. They were a business family before they ever got into politics. They're all around the globe. They got money coming from everywhere. They were a business family. Real estate, fashion, clothing. I mean, everybody wanted to be involved with the Trumps because they were profitable. He's a billionaire. Why would you not want to get close to that guy in terms of business? Joe Biden was not in business. He was in government and then went all of a sudden into business and Hunter Biden getting all this money and 40 million plus and all this stuff. You see the difference? You see the difference? The left can't see the difference because this ain't working. Multiple members of the Biden family are already known to be of interest to GOP investigators. Comer announced last month that subpoenaed financial records dating back to the Biden time as vice president showed $1 million in indirect payments from who? Do you guys? Not the Ukrainians? Do we just want to guess? Do you just want to guess who? The Chinese! The Chinese! Oh, 1 million in direct payments from a Chinese entity company to Biden's adult son, Hunter Biden, brother James Biden, daughter-in-law Haley Biden, and an unknown Biden, adding fuel to concerns that influence peddling and business schemes. You gotta... We said it here time and time again. Joe Biden might be in the pocket of the Chinese. Hey, man, you want to fly a huge-ass spy balloon all the way across our country and gather all the surveillance on our military installations? Sure, not a big deal. We'll make sure we watch it leave mainland China and fly over. Hey, just let you know, when it gets over the Atlantic, then we'll blow it up. And here's the thing. We'll tell the American people, we'll tell the American public that we couldn't blow it up over the land because we didn't want to fall on a building or something. Even though the entire swaths of the United States is just open land as far as the eye can see. Oh, they'll believe it. No, the people that are going to believe it are called Democrats and Libs. Those are the people that believe it. We don't believe it here. The president responded to these findings by insisting, that's not true. And spokesperson for Hunter Biden pushed back on a baseless right-wing conspiracy. Oh, really? The same right-wing baseless conspiracy that the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't real? That the Russian hoax was literally made up? That was all conspiracy, remember? That all comes out to be true. That COVID-19 came from a lab in Wuhan, that was a right-wing conspiracy theory, true, too. Oh, all of a sudden, now all these left-wing outlets, oh, the Hunter Biden laptop's real. The 1040 or 1023 document's real. Oh, COVID came out of a Wuhan lab in China. Yeah, it's like, it's amazing that, it's just a conspiracy theory. It's odd that all our conspiracy theories are coming out, huh? They're coming out to be real. So he told us at CNN that the president's son received his portion of good faith seed funds. Oh, okay. As part of a joint venture, and then shared this money with his uncle, James Biden, Haley Biden. Well, it's just everybody gets the money. Why and how we got it? Well, I don't know. What's my interest there? Well, I don't know. I got the money somehow. Separately, federal prosecutors are investigating Hunter Biden over his foreign business dealings in countries such as China, Ukraine, tax affairs, and more. Though Hunter Biden said he expects to be cleared of wrongdoing. Well, you weren't really clear of wrongdoing because you pleaded guilty. So you're saying one thing in the past. This is a past article here, going back to, I think, like April or something. Let me look. Yeah, April 17th was when this was posted. So we're giving you a little backstory here. So you say that this isn't real and that you're going to just be let off on all these things. which maybe you knew something that we didn't, and then you actually get let off with a sweetheart deal, and you pleaded guilty to it. So at one end you said, oh, this is not happening, and then you plead guilty to it saying, oh, well, now all of a sudden it's happening. You see how this works? You see how all this works? It's wild. It's wild. So Comer demands Burisma suspicious activity reports from Treasury. These are those suspicious activity reports that we were referring to prior. So again, you're never going to have these suspicious activity reports in your lifetime. Talks about like tax evasion, money laundering, all these things in which were looked at with Burisma Holdings in 2014, 2015. If you haven't seen the video, again, I'm plugging this big time. If you haven't seen the video with Biden family corruption that we did hour-long video going from back to 2010 and connecting the dots all the way to 2023 modern day, check it out. Highly recommend it. So Oversight Committee, again, James Comer is calling for the Treasury Department to provide these SARS reports. So this is to check out the links between Burisma Holdings, Ukrainian energy company that employed President Joe Biden's son, on its board several years. The reason why this is important because there's a lot of connections to these accounts that are coming out. So on Wednesday, Comer sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen seeking SARS on file with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network related to Burisma, its entities and executives, including founder Zlotovsky, dated to April 2014 when the younger Biden joined the company. So like I said, he was receiving monthly payments into another company. So it was going from, Lord only knows, possibly China, Africa, Ukraine, funneling into Burisma Holdings. But then Burisma Holdings was being funneled into another company of which Hunter Biden was either the board member of or had some sort of big activity or involvement in. And then those payments were coming out to him and then just other people. And so that was happening from 2014 to the fall of 2015. And that's something they were looking into, is that money laundering, any sort of criminal behavior. But again, who was fired? Shokin. And who was looking into all this stuff? Shokin. But Joe Biden didn't want any of that. So we're going to see what comes of this, because this is a massive deal regarding what's happening here in terms of these SARS reports and why exactly they were not released, but why exactly they were. Who was the suspects? What was the suspicious activity that was going on? Why do you have so many of these? Let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Those are the latest updates on Joe Biden, the Biden family corruption scandal. Well, I want to end it off on a great note here. You have Anna Paulina Luna, who we love here on the Bald Brad Show, asks an EPA official point blank, like, just how much do you make a year? And you're going to kind of see her bring awareness to these knuckleheads on the EPA that, hey, you know what? Like, your policies, they might be good intentions, but they have drastic consequences on low-income families. And she's bringing up that great thing here. Hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, folks. Make sure you hit the join tab down over there. I think, well, how does this make sense? What am I doing? Down that way, I think it is. You know, just like for the name join down there, join us, become a Patriot today. I'm out of coffee. I already drank through it all. Oh, God. Join us, folks. We would love for you to join our awesome community here. I keep plugging it because we have an amazing community of regulars. We know each other's names. We hang out in the live chat together in the comment section. They want you to join as well. Get those cool emojis and have that label, American Patriot.
Senator from Florida.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Goffman, thank you for coming in today. Just out of curiosity, have you ever owned a business? Sorry? Have you ever owned a business?
I have not.
How long have you been in this position?
My current position?
Yes, or at the EPA?
2.5 years in this position.
Okay, and what did you do previously?
I worked at Harvard Law School.
What did you do there?
I was the executive director of a legal research program.
Okay, and you were there for how long?
3 years.
Okay. Have you ever been to Anchorage, Alaska?
No, I have not.
Have you ever evacuated a hurricane in Florida?
No, I have not.
Okay. And my final question, a little bit more personal, but how much do you make a year? I know it's kind of random, but I'm going somewhere with this.
About $175,000 a year.
Oh my gosh, you're doing.
You have to think that hard. Folks, do you ever have to think that hard on how much you get paid? Like, that's not a good thing. Like, you should know your finances. You should know where all your money's going. Like, a little bit of financial advice. You should know where literally every dollar, every penny's going. You should have an app on your phone that tracks this stuff. This guy doesn't know how much money he makes. That's scary. And he's running the EPA. He doesn't even know his own finances. But if he doesn't know his own finances, you think he's going to know the finances of everything about the EPA? I don't think so.
Better than I think we are after taxes, right, guys? Anyways, The reason I ask that is because right now what I'm seeing is the EPA, not necessarily you, but as a whole, people advising on legislation that's impacting Americans who might not be as fortunate as us, right? So right now, the average cost of an electric vehicle is around $66,000 a year. You have Black Americans average income $45K a year, and Hispanic Americans on average making about $58K a year. So when these policies go into place to force someone to buy a new vehicle, ultimately what ends up happening is many people can't afford that.
$60,000 and you have freaking these idiots from the EPA, just buy an electric vehicle, you'll be fine. Out of touch with the American people. But we're told by Karine Jean-Pierre and the Biden administration that Joe Biden knows all this. Joe Biden's in tune with what's going on with American families, but yet they want to push this stuff upon you.
Places like Anchorage, Alaska, I had the opportunity of being able to go out on a CODEL recently. And, what I'm hearing from out there is that they do rely on gas-powered vehicles, especially because of the environment that they're in. And in an event like in Florida, when you've had to evac, we can't necessarily rely on electric vehicles because of the fact that, one, Florida's a very big state, and also to the fact that there's not enough charging stations, nor is there the infrastructure in place to, I think, provide the support needed for an entirely electric grid, not to mention that there's a national security issue that goes hand in hand with that because of the fact that if the electric grid is hacked, ultimately what ends up happening is it can shut down our entire country, and that's something that I'm sure that you would even agree is a bad thing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, a huge, massive thing. And it doesn't even have to be hacked. All you have to do is, you don't even have to hit United States with a nuclear warhead, meaning the land. You just need to explode it up there in the atmosphere above, and now you have a massive EMP that just destroys our entire electric grid. If you want to know one of the reasons as to why the United States military was able to take out the third largest military in the world at the time during the Gulf War, one of the things we did was took out the communications. That was the first thing we did. And we ran roughshod over that military in 2 weeks. You can even say probably a week. So we destroyed the third largest military, I'll be conservative, third largest military in the world in 3 weeks, just by taking out their communication systems, and then we just ran them over. So you don't think the Chinese know that information? You don't think the Russians know that information? You don't think they learned from the past?
Okay, so my question for you is, what is the EPA doing to actually talk to normal people not in Washington, people not at Harvard, people not in Congress, to ensure that they're being taken care of? Because these policies, this legislation, not only is it going to impact jobs, not only will it really attack the economy, but it's going to hurt Americans. So are you guys doing any outreach to actual normal people to see if they agree with any of this legislation?
Thank you for that question. Engaging with everybody, if you will, is an absolute priority whenever we undertake rulemakings like this. We talk to industry, we talk to our co-regulators in states, and we definitely arrange to meet with people in communities across the country on a number of our rules. And what we hear the most from the people we talk to is that reducing pollution in their communities is a top priority.
I think
everybody wants clean air. Republicans want it, conservatives want it, we all agree with it. But when you pose that question to people of like, do you want clean air? And everybody's going to say yes, that's a response bias. Because you're eliciting an answer that you know that you're going to get because everybody wants. And so based on that response bias that you put through your question to get a response again that you want, then you're going to be like, oh, well, perfect. Everybody wants clean energy, so we might as well just push them and force them to have an EV at a certain date and time. They don't have $60,000 to spend. They could barely manage their own pocketbook. 8 in 10 Americans live paycheck to paycheck, but hell, they can afford a $60,000 electric vehicle. This is what they do, you guys. It's manipulation, man. It's disgusting stuff.
I think everyone wants a clean community, but the problem is that if you have people in poverty because of laws that aren't necessarily reflective of the areas that they live in, that's going to cause more issues long term than I think what we can do, not only to promote clean energy, which would be, in my opinion, nuclear energy, but then also to making sure that we're not sending our industries to places that don't respect the environment, and thus, regardless of what we do here, for example, in some of these Asian countries, they might be destroying the environment, so it doesn't matter what we do here.
Thank you. Everybody that's been watching this show for a long time, how many times have we talked about that? The analogy that I used was say the earth, it's not a good analogy, but say the earth is a garbage bin. And America goes, you know, we're going to stop throwing trash in that garbage bin. And China and Russia was like, fine, more space to throw trash in. Let's just load it up. So you can make a difference, destroy your own economy, destroy and hurt your own people. All the while, you have Russia, China, all these other Asian countries, and outside of Asia as well, polluting the earth like no other, and you made no dent. All the while, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I'm not saying that we have to contribute as much as we were in terms of our pollution, but you're going to pull this stunt and all the while go, well, China and all these other things. Remember that Paris Climate Accord that Trump got out of? He's like, yeah, China's actually not doing anything. Matter of fact, since we signed the damn thing, they've increased their pollution. These idiots on the left, these libs, man, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. Oh, but we're going house to house asking people if they want clean air. No, duh, people want clean air, man. Are you stupid?
I have a question about Toyota Auto Corporation. It's estimated that about 1.2 million public chargers by 2030 is what is needed. That's about $400 per day. How many public chargers are going to be going online per day right now?
I don't think she meant $400. I think she meant 400 stations.
What I do know is that in the last couple of years, there was a 40% increase in chargers, which now bring us up to a total of 130,000 chargers.
Do you know how many per day are going up? Because right now, to hit those metrics, it would need to be about $400 per day.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know how many are going up, but I do know that Congress passed 2 significant pieces of legislation that will boost the deployment of chargers.
Okay, my
private
final
sector is making significant investments as well.
Okay, my final statement, because I'm short on time, is like, look, I know you're in a very important position, but I just hope that you're taking into account people that might not necessarily have the resources when you guys are making these decisions, because it's going to impact a lot of people and it's going to hurt Americans.
God, can we get her in California, please, Florida? You got Byron Donalds. Okay, can you just share some of your talent? Can we just have Luna over here, please? God, she's gorgeous. She's pretty. All conservative Republican women tend to be gorgeous and pretty. She got the personality. She got the intelligence. She got her head on straight. Can we borrow her for like 4 years? I know it's a long time, but God, she could really fix this place. Or give us Byron. Can we make a trade? God, you guys, well, Nancy Pelosi's out, but can we get some other, like Adam, let's switch her for Adam Schiff. I know it's not an equal trade by any means, but for the love of God, she's bringing up great points here. Folks, well, they just passed legislation to build chargers. Why do they need to pass legislation to build chargers? Just go build it. Or are they upholding federal land because the EPA doesn't want charging stations on federal land because it somehow hurts the economy? Folks, I think we've kicked it enough here. We're kicking it while it's down. We've talked a lot about EVs. We talked about how the fact that, they're not as environmentally friendly as we all are projected upon us to be, meaning that, oh, well, they're so clean. Well, how much mining does it take across the globe to just get the lithium, the cobalt, the nickel, all the actual materials to build this thing? How much plastic's being utilized? Do you notice that all these freaking libs, all these these extremists that sit there and push their narratives upon all of us don't actually ever break that down of like how disastrous those EVs are for the actual environment? This is what they do. But hey, you know what? You guys want clean energy? Oh, perfect. You do? Oh, well, let's push all these initiatives upon you. I hope you have $60,000 laying around to buy a new electric vehicle. I hope that you don't have that gas-powered stove or that wood power stove, whatever the hell it's going to be. We want to go full electric here. Oh, can the grid handle it? Well, no, it actually can't handle it. Matter of fact, California's pushing all this upon us. They can't even handle our summers. They throttle us every single summer. It gets hot every single summer since I've even been alive, which is 34 years. It's been the exact same time every year. And they still can't figure out the electric grid. So, no joke, last summer, Gavin Newsom goes, hey, don't charge your electric vehicles or run your air conditioner through these times because our grid can't handle it. Oh, but by the way, everybody's going to have an electric vehicle at some point in time here, but our grid can't handle it. And what kind of policies or what kind of implementation are we doing to build more grids? Nothing. We can't even get our roads set straight. We have the worst roads in the country. We have the greatest weather, but the worst roads. I'm going on about this. Democrats just suck at running things. Folks, always love hanging out with you. Hit that join tab. I don't know if it's over. I think it might be over here. Down here, maybe? I don't know. It's either right here. It's right here. Everything's flip-flop for me. Become American Patriot Day. What are you waiting for, folks? You're here every day hanging out with us. You get cool emojis, cool badges. Get yourself some shirts, get some mugs here, some All-American mugs. Look at that, folks. You're getting a good view of that gloss. It comes in black, too, and it shows up really well. I'm like, Some of you are buying I'm really shocked by this. So I have the white one, right? Because I get the analytics on this. A lot of you are buying the black mug. Is that one more popular? Should I get the black mug? Shib, I think your mug's black, which supposedly your wife took from you. I don't know if you guys know that story. So obviously, I read the live chat. I'm here with you. I read the comments below, so I get the skinny on all these things you guys are telling me. So Shib, or in other words, Eric, buys a mug, right? Sends it all the way to the United Kingdom so that he can drink out of it with us. Dude's wife takes it. Bless her heart. She knows a good mug when she sees one, but I guess you got to get another one, Shib. But I think yours is black, if I recall. Look, I'm just trying to point out people are buying these things, and I love it because we can all share in our community together, not just our ideologies and our fun and our jokes and stuff in the live chat, but just having and the Bald Brad Show swagger. Again, buy yourself a copy of Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Green, thank you so much for your nice compliments in the chat. Green is halfway through it, folks. He says he's enjoying it. Eric's read it. Jen, I think you've read it. You said you loved it. Jen is sending her copy to me, I believe, through the P.O. Box to get signed. If you want a signed copy, you can go to baldbrad.com and just order one. Or what you could do is just, there's a P.O. Box that I do have. Just email me. The email is in the description below. And if you just send like 10 or 15 bucks so I can ship it back to you. Hold on. I know I'm going on a tangent. Why is shipping a book so freaking expensive? We could do like a $5 shipping, but it's going to take like 7 to 13 business days to get you, like 2 weeks to get your book back. Why is this book $10 plus to ship to you guys? Isn't that insane? Anyways, I know I'm going on a random tangent, but that's why I just pop like 10, 15 bucks, maybe $100 bill in the book. But no, just send the money to in the book when you send it to the P.O. Box. I give you the address if you email me. With that being said, we'll be back here tomorrow for another episode of The Bald Brad Show.